Sì, Il prossimo piatto che assaggeremo è quello di Sami.
Partecipare alla prima sfida per il nuovo cassa e questa è una versione di campo di tanto. All'ispirato è stata l'idea della raccolta del campo che si svolge in estate. Questo piatto ci sono diverse scusate nascoste. Non si cioccolato bianco, gelatino di cavolo e dolce passante. Il piano nazionale.
Quello che so già. Mi piace il fatto che abbia messo il piatto nella sua separata. Le tavole si sposano bene. l'idea totale che hai centrato l'obiettivo e ci hai scoperto che è strappato anche un sorriso, ottimo, sei stato davvero bravissimo. Passi nel testo.
Sono brillante a Carmelo Salo. Grazie. Ho pensato solo a un po' di messaggi, ma mi dispiace molto per il risultato finale. Ho avuto qualcosa di
Che è successo, Michelle? Raccontaci, che cosa è successo?
fatto fatto che due ragazzi sono isolati.
Che cos'è?
Doveva essere un guscio di cioccolato.
Come era successo? È assolutamente delizioso, è come un raggio di sole, è un piatto eccellente. Complimenti. Hai dedicato tra il tempo alla sua risposta. Alla fine non lo usato perché non era certo della mia vita. Ah, sei mai usato a farlo. Ma alla fine il segreto del successo è lasciare da parte le salse e qualcosa o ciò che lui ti convince. È considerato come hai aiuto. Hai servito il piatto da tutti. Mi sembra che il gusto salsa che hai visto sul conto ha un gusto spiritoso.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good. Okay. Where did I put your notes? So how's this week been?
It's incredibly busy and full, and I'm slightly agitated.
Why are you agitated?
Because I've got too much on my plate and I need to say no to some things and recognise that I can't do everything, and I'm not obliged to do everything. It's me that puts that obligation on myself, and I shouldn't do that. I don't want to do that.
Mm.
But I'm also agitated about my situation at home.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's why I can't, sorry. Got the wrong folder. So what do you want to start with today then? Would it help to get the agitation under control, or do you want to start with something else that's less triggering?
I suppose let's start with the agitation. I know what I need to do. So starting from scratch, it was like I had these various opportunities come my way about doing maternity cover for people and being invited to a hospice to talk about an opportunity that might be coming later on.
Mm.
And the one hospice, she said she wanted somebody to start in March, and I said to her straight away, well, I couldn't do that because I'm actually committed till June.
Mm.
So then she came back and said, oh, I think it's really important that we get the right person, blah, blah, blah. Is there any flexibility? And I said, well, I work from home on Fridays, 1 day a week, and Tina and I have already spoken about the fact that going forward, there might be more flexibility for me with them. It might be a 4-day week, or it might be working 2 days from home and 3 days down. I don't know.
Mm.
But so instead of just saying to this person, I'm sorry, but I am committed to the end of June. I've told you I don't want to let them down. That's all I can offer. And, not in a kind of take it or leave it way, I end up trying to accommodate them, knowing that I can't really accommodate them because I've not got elastic walls on my diary.
Mm.
So I know that that's down to me, and that I just need to be more assertive.
Yes.
And it's this thing about boundaries, and why do I feel somehow that I have a duty to try to accommodate them? I don't even know these people. So I am laughing at myself now when I talk about it, because it's actually a silly situation that I've got myself into, and I know what I need to do to fix it.
Which is what, do you think?
Well, I've been clear already about what I can and can't do. It's just a question of reinforcing that and saying, that's what I can offer. I mean, I went back to her this morning and I said, I can only offer the 1 day. I didn't apologise for that or anything, which I started to do, and I stopped myself. I scrubbed it out, which I was pleased with myself for doing.
Absolutely.
And I just said, and I actually said to her, it feels like trying to get a round peg into a square hole, or whatever the expression is. And she's come back and said, oh, I'll speak to my CEO and see what we can do. And I was thinking, crikey, that's not what I wanted you to do at all. That was me trying to say, this is all I can do.
So you actually spoke to her on the phone?
No, she's been in meetings all morning, so we've had this kind of email chain.
Okay.
But it's amazing, isn't it, how you think that you are. I suppose I didn't say, look, 1 day is it and that's it, full stop. I said I can only offer 1 day a week, and that would be for the whole of March and April. And then I'd negotiate with Tina, because I don't know whether she's thinking the end of June or the beginning of June. And maybe there's compromise in there. But, you know, that's it. That's what I can do. And, yeah.
But she's going away to see if that's acceptable
Yeah.
or coming back with a counteroffer.
Well, if she comes back with a counteroffer, there's nothing to counter it with. I can't do anything else. So,
So am I right in understanding that you're frustrated at yourself for having done this, got yourself into this position?
Well, I want to say yes, but then on the other hand, I've recognised more and more that the hospice world, it's a little clique. And I didn't want to not engage with her because it could have ramifications or repercussions for me further down the line. So this was one of the first times that I've been introduced to the inner circle by somebody else, by Tracy Dick at St Gemma's. So I wanted it to be a positive engagement rather than anything else.
And do you think it was a positive engagement?
Oh, yeah. When I spoke to her, yeah.
So if you're not frustrated with yourself then, why did you come to the session and use the word, was it agitated?
Yeah.
So where does that come from?
Oh, well, perhaps I'm not being quite truthful with myself then, because, you know, this toing and froing with her, and then I've been introduced to another hospice in Pontefract, and I'm going for a chat, I thought, because I didn't think it was the way that, right, put your teeth in and start again. A colleague of mine who's doing some separate work with them had advised me that the director of income generation there was going on maternity leave or leaving next year, and it was, so my understanding was it was further down the line, it was sort of August, September time. So I said, oh, that would be great then to go for a chat. She asked me whether I'd go for a chat. Now this man, the chief exec, has just come back to me and said, well, actually, you know, meeting you in December is a bit late for us. We want to get a move on with this. And I'm thinking, I wonder what's been said, whether or not he's been clear about the timetable under which they want to recruit. But I've done the same thing. I've taken this as an opportunity to go meet people within the hospice sector and for them to get to know who I am, because that's how it seems to work, as opposed to being upfront and saying, oh, I'd love to come and talk to you, but by the way, I'm committed until June. That seemed to be, well, it's not the approach I thought I wanted to take. So I'm agitated about that he's come back to me and said, well, seeing you in December is no good. We want to see you earlier because we've got a process to get on with. And I'm thinking, that's not what Paula, my colleague, said to me, but, you know.
So where does the agitation come from then?
Well, I suppose it comes from the fact that there are these opportunities that are kind of good opportunities, and one of them I don't know what the timescale is yet, and the other one I can't see it happening. And I'm agitated because if I'd have had the approach the week before, I wouldn't have committed necessarily to extending my contract with Birmingham St Mary's till June. So I'm agitated that there are these opportunities that finally I'm beginning to break through that glass ceiling, but, you know, because of my own situation, maybe I'm not, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot going on and I can't take advantage of it. It's like buses, they all come at once.
Yeah. Do you know that you can't take advantage of what's going on?
No.
So let's look at what you do know, the facts. Simple, unadorned facts.
Mm.
Let's start listing them. So the obvious fact is opportunities, interesting opportunities are presenting themselves.
Yes.
What's another fact in all of this?
That I have been introduced to another hospice by a fundraising director who obviously thinks I'm worth introducing.
Good, all right. What's another fact?
That somebody who's a colleague of mine who thinks I do good work has recommended me to yet another hospice.
Yes, fantastic. And what's another fact?
That they all want to see me.
Yeah, and what's another fact?
That I feel as if I'm knocking on the door of the sector.
Good, fantastic. And what's another fact?
I'm running out now of facts.
Think about it from you and how you're feeling.
Well, how I'm feeling is just frustrated that I can't take advantage of it all.
That's it. That's your fact. That's another fact. So out of all the facts you've mentioned, there's only one that's slightly iffy. All the rest are unbelievably positive, are clear signs that all the hard work and determination on your part just to keep going and get into the sector are now beginning to pay off.
Yeah.
And you've entered the hallowed halls of the clique. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we don't know. But it's true. You've been recommended from by two different colleagues for two different positions. Both are really interested in you. I would suggest there's another fact, and that is you have no control over whether these jobs, you will actually be able to take these jobs on or not.
Yeah.
And there's, I think, another possible fact related to that, and that's what's agitating you because you've got no control.
Possibly.
Sit it in your stomach for a moment and see how it feels, whether it feels true for you or not.
Well, if my stomach's fairly knotty at the moment, and so.
Because I think it's fair to say that you like everything to be well organised and under control.
Yeah.
And this is totally out of your control. Every conversation you have seems to take it further out of your control with organisations.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's agitating you.
Right.
The fact that you have no control over finally getting two fantastic opportunities.
Yeah.
So you said very interestingly for me that if the opportunities had presented themselves earlier, you wouldn't have extended your contract with Tina. Why not?
I didn't mean to say I wouldn't have extended it with them because of that. I meant that I'd committed a week before to extending it, and these weren't opportunities that I knew about. Had I known about them, I would have thought long and hard about whether or not I was going to extend at Birmingham St Mary's.
Okay, all right, yes. Would have been nice to have had that extra time.
Yes, yeah.
Weigh your possibilities up. Yeah, absolutely.
But having said that, the work I'm doing there, it's great. So what I would have been weighing up, what wouldn't necessarily have been, it would have been about the location, the geography.
Okay, all right. So are those other two positions, I've no idea where Pontefract is in relation to you. I know it's on a sea coast, but that's all I can remember.
It's near Wakefield.
Okay, and that's not too far away.
It's not near the sea.
It's
not too far.
I was convinced it was, because don't you get Pontefract Rock or something?
Now you get Pontefract licorice cakes.
Okay, all right, obviously. Just ignore me. Okay, all right. So, and that's closer to you than Birmingham, obviously.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that would be more convenient for you. But then you'd have to weigh up how much of your contribution you could make because of the team, etc., etc. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've broken it down, how agitated are you feeling? Is it a little better? Is it different?
I don't feel agitated.
It's so easy to get you out of it. It's blissful. It's like taking candy from a baby.
Hello. I'm not.
So, is there anything else you want to work through with me on that one? Or are we?
No, we're sorted.
We're sorted. Okay, brilliant. God, set this up. Okay, all right. So then let's go back to what you're doing, because you said you've taken too much on. I think one of your first sentences to me were, and I assume that was with your work with Birmingham and the big reports that you're preparing.
Well, it's more to do with the fact that this retail review is still sort of hanging over my head at St Gemma's, and I was due to meet Tracy this morning, but I haven't written this paper yet. And then I started to write it, and I actually just thought to myself, what am I trying to write here? It's a more difficult paper to write than I first imagined, because if it was just the framework of what a retail review will do, well, yeah, fine. I can bullet point those. It's like it will take me 2 ticks. But I've already written a thought paper. Tracy's already done some work. So it's harder to write than I first thought. And I am mindful of the fact that, she's waiting for me to have written this paper. And so I suppose that's just been preying on my mind that I haven't done it. And I tried to start writing. I've written half of it this morning, just now, but it's not where it needs to be. And that question, well, what am I trying to achieve with this paper? I think that's a fundamental question to answer.
Absolutely. So what's blocking that, your clarity there?
Well, I think it's a simple answer to that question. Why am I writing it, and what am I writing it for?
Sorry, that's the door buzzer. Okay. Hilary, I have to go downstairs and collect the map. Sorry. I'll be as quick as possible, and I'll take my keys with me. Okay, time to put some lights on. Oh, it's miserable out today, it's raining.
Yeah, it's raining here as well, and cold.
Yes, and damp.
It snowed in Birmingham on Wednesday.
Did it really? Good God. Well, we've got snow, but then you'd expect us to have snow in the Alps, so. Okay. So, writing the paper.
Yeah.
And the question that you need to answer. So what is the question that you need to answer?
Well, what's the paper for?
Okay.
What question am I trying to answer? So that's where I'll start. And I've just had an exchange of emails with Tracy, and we've just agreed that we'll swap thoughts, which is what I was intending to do anyway, and then speak next week. So that's good.
Good. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
That can give you a breathing space.
Yes. Yes.
So given that, will you finish work today after this session, or will you continue writing the paper?
I'll probably continue writing the paper, or looking at. I'll probably try to do some Birmingham St Mary's stuff, and then I might have a cup of tea. I might have to take the dogs out again. It doesn't look as if my sister will be taking them out.
So just to be clear, because I'm not clear yet, and I'm sorry, it's most probably me. What is the paper for?
I think the paper is to pull all the different work streams together to create a framework that pulls all the work streams together, that talks about the existing retail portfolio that we've got and how we can go about maximising its performance and what the future holds. And to me, it's come out of a thought paper that I sent to the committee about understanding that retail is such a significant proportion of St Gemma's income. What would happen if it was no longer there? So how do we make sure that we have something that's sustainable? And there are all these individual pieces of work going on, but it wasn't being pulled together and it wasn't being looked at strategically. So yes, I understand the need to look at things operational right now, but we need to take a view over what we need to do to make retail fit for purpose for the future, given all the information that's out there. Okay. And then how we do that.
So are you actually looking for what I'd call income generation synergy, so that the income streams not only pool together, but because you're working with a holistic plan, you're looking at all the income streams and how they interact, you can actually get more income from them?
So yes, that's where I started from, because I thought that by having an income generation review, which is looking at all the different income streams, maximising them, making sure they're working across the hospice, they're supporting the hospice strategy, blah, blah, blah. I thought that's what we had said we were going to do. Then the chair of the Finance and Business Committee said, well, actually, let's take retail out of that, because retail income is so significant. I think it's over 52% of the unrestricted income.
Wow.
So let's look at it on its own, in those bits, what we're doing now, what we need to do for the future. And then I said, well, and then how it supports and the hospice strategy, and then we can slot it back into the overall income generation review. But we need to look at it through a lens on its own 2 feet, really.
Okay. So really that's going to go at the head of the paper. You're going to set the premise for.
Yeah, that's what I think has to it has to do.
Yeah. So that everybody knows, reading what comes after, that it's all linked into that. Okay, all right, I'm with you now. All right. So you seem pretty clear about that. So I'm wondering where the difficulty in writing the paper is coming from.
I don't know. Because yes, when I talk about what we need to do and why, I am fairly clear. So I don't know what the block is.
There's something that happens to me when I have to do multiple pieces, like videos or what have you, and it is that I write out the skeleton and it's all easy, but then when I come to putting the meat on the bones, I go, oh, where am I going to get this information from? Or I don't have the information I thought I did have and that I need. So are you experiencing an element of that you, when it comes to putting the meat on the bones, you found that maybe it's not working out quite as you expected?
It's a little bit different. It's recognising that there's a framework, but then knowing how much detail to put in. So I suppose that's the block really. It's the difference between writing a full-blown paper with everything in it, as opposed to writing a summary of what we want to do.
Good. So if there's only that, what's stopping you from asking Tina, for example, how much detail do you want? No, it's not Tina, is it? Because this is for another organisation. What's stopping you asking St. Gemma's, the relevant people at St. Gemma's? At this stage, how much detail do you want?
Nothing.
And what's stopping you from deciding what you think it's appropriate to give St. Gemma's? So
Nothing,
that
really.
You manage.
Hmm?
So that you manage how much information is given and when and how. Certainly at this stage.
Nothing is stopping me, but I think that what Tracy and I have just emailed each other about is probably the way to go forward.
Okay, good. So if you need to talk about that, how realistic is it of you to think that you might do a bit more on the paper today? Wouldn't it be better to wait until you've had a chat with Tracy?
Well, no, because what she wants to do, what we think we want to do is talk to each other about a couple of ideas. So
Okay.
we've got to get something down on paper so that we can, and she's doing the same thing, so we can mesh them together, really.
Okay. Tracy seems to have really gone with the ball with this, doesn't she? She really seems to be being proactive on it.
Yes, and you know that they are expressing their surprise that she's doing this, but it's just interesting, isn't it? All you have to do is spend time with somebody and get different results from them. I think that part of my hesitancy is that all of this has just come out of. It was just talked at a finance and business committee, and it came completely left field. And even though I've had a conversation with Angus separately, the way he talked about what this review was about was all about it being. He talks in very not in a lot of detail about anything. And yeah, so when I'd finished talking to him, I thought, oh yeah, I know what he wants. But then when I come to write it, I think, well, if this is supposed to stimulate discussion or get agreement, it's not enough information. And I suppose that's when I came to a grinding halt, thinking, oh bloody hell, I've got to write the whole damn thing again.
And have you?
No, not yet.
Because it seems to me that from a certain perspective, you'd be the best person to decide how much information is given at this point.
Yes, and if I'm being totally truthful, I'm just irritated that a paper I'd written way back in September, I don't know whether anybody's even read it.
Yeah.
Because actually what I'm going to have to do with this paper is write a lot of that paper again. Which isn't a problem because it's already done, but it's just a little bit frustrating. So I suppose it's the two things. It's coming from left field, just announced a finance and business committee, and nobody knew anything about it. Just came from the chair. He seems to be clear in his own little accountancy mind about what he thinks, how easy he thinks this is, but it's not. And there's been no engagement whatsoever with any of the work that's been done beforehand.
So how much are you going to have to manage his expectations in order to get this paper accepted or to let it have the success and consideration that it merits?
Well, I think because he...
Sorry, but you've spoken about him in fairly polite but critical terms. So it seems to me that you don't rate him very highly. That's the impression I got from what you've said.
I do rate him in terms of how his intelligence and how he behaves. But he's the one that gosh, he's the one that ultimately decided not to appoint another trustee when he told me that he thought that she was the best thing since sliced bread. So maybe that's blurring my thoughts. I think that what I need to do is do the framework, do the outline, share the ideas with Tracy, and then ping it to him and say, what do you think? Is this what you were expecting?
I think that's a great idea.
This is what I think we need to do.
Because you do seem to be questioning his judgment, and I'm sure, as you've said, it's not on everything, but on this it seems to be. And I'm wondering how much what you're telling me today and your language and your thoughts are being flavored by this underlying sense of agitation, because you couldn't control all the great opportunities that are coming. You can't control St. Gemma's.
Yeah.
But there are things that you could control that I've pointed out to you, and now you see them, but you didn't before. So when you get into this state, what it tells me is that you don't see the opportunities that are actually in a situation, which is what happens to us all. If we start to be negative, or which is we will be, it's our default state. The brain is designed to have a negative bias. But once we let that go, once we let that take over, then our decisions and our thinking is no longer sound. So I'm wondering how much of the difficulty you've had today is actually being affected by this underlying sense of agitation.
Probably everything.
Yeah. So that tells you to watch out for it, and to just try to separate yourself from those feelings of agitation it's like low-grade anxiety, where you can't pinpoint one thing, and it's difficult when someone asks you a question because it's just everywhere, it's all over. That's all pervading, and that tells you that your decisions and whatever you do is going to be tainted with that same negative emotion.
Yeah.
So then that gives you the information you need. I call them the facts because they are facts that help you say, okay, I'm going to approach this day in a different way. My priority is not to get this paper done, for example, but actually to get myself out of this agitated funk. Because while I'm in it, I'll do poor work. I'll make poor decisions. I'll be stressed. So the best thing you can do is then invest in yourself to turn your mood around.
Yep.
That baseline. Okay. Make sense?
It does.
But going into it like this, again, I see very positive things in the St. Gemma's work. Despite the uncomfortable moments.
Mm.
Well, I see that, you have a chance to shine here by saying, I will decide, I'll get information from the people I need to get information from, but then I will decide the decision will be mine because I'm the person who's been asked to do this. I'm the person with the skills to do it.
Yeah.
So I will decide what information is handed out at this stage and what information it's not appropriate to hand out. Maybe some guidelines, but nothing more than a skeleton, because we don't have the information. And until we start digging into this, there's not the information available for me to give any more detailed information. So whatever I give now is of dubious helpfulness. The skeleton, fine, but no more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, next.
Tell me. So you said you've got too much on at the very beginning when I said, how's the week gone? Is there anything else involved in that too much on?
Well, I think the whole Birmingham St Mary's work, I filled a whiteboard. I've taken a photograph of it. I just need to get it down on paper now. And actually, I was just thinking to myself, well, this is what I said I would do by the end of January. So I'm still on course.
Yeah.
Just me putting pressure on myself. So.
Why are you doing that? What's tipped you into putting pressure on yourself, do you think?
Because there's so much to do, really. So it's making sure, it's trying to pace myself as well to make sure that I don't leave everything to the last minute, get on with it.
And why would you leave everything to the last minute?
Because that's what I tend to always do. Okay. And I know that doesn't give good results.
No, of course it can't because you're stressed. But given the changes that you've made in this last year, is there any reason to believe that you will still continue with such unhelpful behavior? Or do you now have more of a sense of your own value to plan out this leaving things to the last minute?
Well, I've been writing on my to-do list for the last 4 weeks, so
you're already doing things differently.
Yeah, but I haven't actually done it yet, started yet, and I just need to do that. I don't know why I am not doing it, really.
Well, if there's a lot to do, maybe it's because you can't get to it yet, and maybe it's not the time to do it yet.
It might be that. I've also been thinking about, one of the things I got really hooked up about were at Trafford Housing Trust was having a big idea. And certainly at Birmingham St Mary's, part of my brief is looking at what we're doing already and seeing if we need to stop or refocus anything. and then looking to the future, well, what else might we want to do?
Yeah.
And I've realised that even things like me just taking my head of marketing and head of fundraising along to St Gemma's to meet that team there, and talking to the director of fundraising at Hope House Hospice, and talking to the director of fundraising at Pilgrim's Hospice. I would have thought in the past, I would have said, oh, that's just, by the by, that's nothing great. But actually, that's part of me helping to develop the team that work with me.
Yes.
So I can see how other people work. So I recognise that that's not just something that, oh, Hillary's just done that, sweep it under the carpet, just assume everybody knows that you've done it. It's actually got a value.
Absolutely. Indispensable.
So so I just think, things that I was thinking, oh, I haven't really done anything, I haven't done a lot. Actually, I have done quite a bit.
How do you manage your to-do list? Is it just a simple list? Do you prioritize it? Do you schedule it?
I tend to write down everything that I need to do, and then I prioritize it.
Okay, because I make an Excel file for the year.
I know you do, you told me.
And that really stopped me panicking, because it's down on the schedule, and it will be done in that month, and I don't have to look at it until then. And when I've noticed that when I start getting closer to things, then I'll start getting ideas. So I always have out on my work surface paper, and I just write down the ideas. I don't do anything else. I just write them down. I don't prioritize. I don't look at them. I write them down. So that then when I'm ready, I've already done a lot of background thinking, and I've already got some great ideas. So I think it's not so much that we have a to-do list, it's how we manage that to-do list that really makes the difference. After that, then there's no excuse for us to keep on saying, I just need to do it, I need to get on with it, it's on my to-do list, but I'm not doing it. We need to recognize that we have organized that level of anxiety out of our life, and we've made that habit of I just need to get on with it redundant.
Well, I suppose my whiteboard is the equivalent of your writing ideas down.
It is. I'd do it if I had a whiteboard, but I don't, so it gets put down on sheets of A4.
So it's full now, and I'm ready to take it from the whiteboard and put it on paper. And I'd already decided, they do everything in Excel spreadsheets, and that's just not how I work.
Yes.
So I've already thought through how I want to present it. It's just, it's me recognising and really believing that in myself, that what I've actually done, I've done a lot of little things, and they make a difference.
They do. Because big change is always made up of 1,000 little changes. Never comes all at once. Overnight successes have always been going for 10 years before they've been that overnight success. Yeah. So what can we do to support you to recognize this more easily, even if you're having an agitated baseline day? Or an I'm not comfortable because I can't control this baseline day.
I think just the mere fact that I have got a whiteboard full of ideas.
Good.
Helps.
Good. Yeah, I think it does, absolutely, because it's something you can see immediately. And there's another thing that I learned this week on the round table that I run with a group of other coaches on self-sabotage, and I asked the group to share their 2 favorite tips that they use on themselves. And one of them said, this is what I was taught by one of my coaches, and she said, when you have a bad day, when you have what one of your ex-coaches called the muddy puddle day, what you do to get out of it is to assign a folder in your email for success. And you put into there any email you've received from anyone that says you did a great job, we're so grateful, and make you feel good about yourself. And then when you're in the muddy puddle day, you just open that success folder and you read some of the emails to remind you. So that's a really easy one to put in place too, if you need it. I really like it, actually. It's so simple. So yes. So what's the difference then between what happened today before you came to the session and in the session when I've been asking you questions and you've been sort of clearing away things until you've got to, yeah, it's the whiteboard. Why do you think you didn't remember it before? What was the thing that made the difference and allowed you to remember it?
I think just talking about it.
Okay.
Because it was already there in my subconscious somewhere. I hadn't actually given myself the space or the time to even think that was there. There've been glimmers of things coming, you know, like, oh, you are influencing, you are helping, you are developing. Give yourself credit for that.
Yeah.
As opposed to thinking, oh my God, I haven't thought of any new ideas. Because it was hard, first of all, to see that a lot of what the team is doing is exactly what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so when you go in as a consultant, I felt like, oh, they're paying me and they're already doing a good job. And that doesn't feel like you're earning your money. You know what I mean? But actually, spending time with people, recognizing that they are doing the right things, but then throwing in the bits that you can throw in that will help them to do it even better. That's good.
Yeah, and opening them up to other ways of doing things by taking them around to other organizations that are in their sector.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you tend to, when you get up in the morning and you're feeling a bit, how did you feel this morning when you got up? Were you already agitated or no? Was it a good morning until you got to your desk and started discovery?
I got out of bed because I started thinking about all the things I've got to do.
Ah, okay. So you woke up anxious.
I woke up and I was tired,
Okay.
and I wanted to go back to bed. But then I went back to bed and stroked Bodhi, and then immediately started thinking about all the things I've got to do, and got up. And then I took the dogs out for a walk.
And did that help?
It was actually quite a nice walk. They weren't too badly behaved. But I was aware of it eating into the time. And then I got frustrated with what's going on with me at home, because this is a working day, and I feel as if I'm not getting a lot of help.
Yeah.
And that is that aggravates me, irritates me.
Do you feel you can say anything? Or don't you want to because you might explode?
You know, when you get to the point where if you said anything, it would come out a big explosion.
Yeah.
So you know it's not the time to say anything.
Yes, well done. Yeah. Sometimes you can explode, sometimes there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the key is a mindset shift for you, because if you already, it seemed to be that whatever you did to make yourself feel better, namely the dogs, because I know you love taking them for a walk and being outside, If it's not helping and you keep going back to look at all this stuff I've got to do, and there's this niggling sense of erosion of your self-esteem, well, not self-esteem, but self-trust and self-value, then that's the time to stop and to focus on you. It's counterintuitive, but it's the only thing that works. And actually, when you do use it, you start being much more productive, and so you sail through things because you've got all of your brain's magnificent power available to you. Once you're down in the brain's negative bias, your body's getting stressed, your modern executive brain is being largely taken offline because it is the most enormous gas guzzler for oxygen and for red blood cells. It consumes more than I think any other organ in the body. So they get taken offline because once your body is stressed, your two animal brains take over, because the reptilian brain and the limbic system control emotions. So, and if your overriding emotion is anxiety, then they will do whatever they can to keep you in anxiety, because in their view, that's going to keep you safe. It's going to keep you extra alert so that you can avoid the pterodactyl or the dinosaur that's eyeing you up for supper.
Right.
Because those brains are apparently 20 million years old. And they were developed to keep our hunter-gatherer ancestors safe so that they could have sex and have children and keep the line going of humanity.
Right. I'm just going to put the fan heater on.
Okay.
It blows straight at the cat, so he's in his basket, his igloo. So he'll start snoring in a minute.
Oh, lovely. Okay, all right. Well, I shall listen for
Instead of cooing like he did last week.
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah. So, I was going to tell you a little bit more about that, but anyway. So when you see that whatever you're doing to try to get you out of this negative default emotion, the thing is to stop what you're doing and take the time to get you feeling good about yourself in some way. Okay. Don't sit there and struggle. You just make life harder for yourself and you dig a deeper hole for yourself. Get out of it by doing something that makes you feel good.
Right.
So the trick there is to be prepared. What do I mean by prepared? It just means have a number of things that you've written down, or you can instantly remember. You don't need to think about them. That you can say, okay, if I can do this, this, or this to make me feel bad, to make me feel better. Sorry. I don't know if you remember, but when I had the heart attack, I had volcano. I had an image of a volcano. And when I got to the top of the volcano, I could either fall back down the volcano on the outside or fall into the volcano on the inside. And so I used to observe my thoughts to see how close I was getting to the top of the volcano and whether I was going to fall in or out. And usually I felt I was going to fall in. There was a period of about a year when I just felt that I was going to fall in. I had to do something or I'll fall in the volcano and that would be it. That would be the end of my life, sort of thing. And so I developed tiny little things like cleaning my teeth was a good one. Brushing my hair was another one. Making a cup of tea when I drank black tea, still, that was a good one. Reading, sometimes it got down to reading a sentence of the books. You know, the books that we could get at that time. You could get hardback books from really brilliant authors like Margaret Atwood at £1 because the booksellers were selling them off. So I always had a stack of books by the bed. So I would go and read a sentence of the book that I was reading. And then one sentence led to another. So I had the tiniest of tiny things. Cleaning my teeth always makes me feel better.
Yeah. It's washing my hair, actually.
Yeah, that's another one. That's a great one. Sounds a weird thing, particularly to a Brit, but using the bidet. I love the bidet.
So much information.
Not using it to wash. So you know when you put your knickers on, you're clean. Oh my God, it's just awful, but I love it. So that takes a couple of minutes. So that sorts me out. Doing anything insane that makes you laugh, that's a good one. Nothing is too small, nothing is too insignificant. If it works, use it. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've found absolutely indispensable that I really stress with my clients is you have got to find a way to make sure you can remember these things when you need them so that you don't waste time in the puddle or down the rabbit hole. Okay, because the sooner you get out of that, the easier it is going to be. The sooner you recognize it and take action, the easier it's going to be to get out of that baseline anxiety or whatever it is you're feeling that's not helpful, that's counterproductive. Okay. So what are your takeaways from today?
I think it's about how to avoid the muddy puddle, the tactics. It's about recognizing what I can do if I'm in a negative state of mind to change my state.
I mean, I think, 99% of the time there's always something we can do. And it's much easier when we have a few simple tricks like be prepared. Prepare easy things that you can do that take very little effort on your part that actually get you feeling better. That's the big one. If you don't, you tend not to be able to access them. So preparation for me is the key to success with this tip. Recognition, preparation, action, small action.
I think what was interesting was just working through this, what was making me agitated, and almost being given a set of tools to help me to do that, really.
Yeah. For me, the default there is always go to the facts, the unassailable facts that you can prove.
Yes, yeah.
Because you will find one eventually that makes you feel,
Mm-hmm.
And the first one to do, when you're just starting out on this, the first one is going to be the hardest fact to find. But once you've got that, the others flow more easily. It's as though you've opened the door wide enough for you to get through it, and for them to get through into your consciousness.
Right.
Anything else?
No, they were the big ones for me.
Good.
But I do feel that I am now much quicker at recognising, for instance, if I'm going into a muddy puddle, and I feel as if I'm more equipped to help myself get out of it more quickly.
You are very definitely, and you are making huge strides in it. Sometimes you don't need me at all, which is fantastic. Because you can do it for yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, there's no comparison to what you were when we started, to where you were when we started, to where you are now. Fantastic progress.
Thank you. Good.
So one point, last week, I'm sure I said that you had 10 sessions, but you don't, you have 11.
Yeah, right, okay.
Because you bought a pack of 3 and then you bought a pack of 8, so that makes 11.
Fine.
Okay. So I woke up one morning and it all fell into place. I had a niggling feeling the night before that I'd calculated your stuff incorrectly. And I tried to recalculate it and my brain wasn't functioning. And obviously it sorted itself overnight. And I woke up with 11, not 10, 11, 3 and 8, 11. Okay, all right, sort it out now, immediately, before you forget. So I just wanted you to know. So what's coming up for the week?
More of the same. Don't know what to say to that. More of the same. More Birmingham St Mary's again on Monday. Got papers to write for the board meeting, not the board meeting, the finance and audit meeting. The deadline's Wednesday. More of the same, really.
Okay. And how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, it's all right.
Do you like writing the papers?
I've never written them. I've never written a board paper before, so that well, not for Birmingham St Mary's. So
okay.
That in itself will be quite interesting. How they write and what they expect.
So you've obviously, have you seen their board papers before?
Yeah, I have, yes.
So you do, so you know roughly what you need to do?
Yes, but it's different when you receive them and read them as opposed to having to write them.
Very, very, very different. But at least it gives you some idea of what they do.
Well, the finance director was looking after income generation before I arrived. So she does everything by spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not what I will do.
No, absolutely not.
So
no, but you've worked around that, haven't you, with your 3 notebooks?
Well, I won't use those for the board meeting. I'm saying that for the board papers, that's what she did. Everything was on a spreadsheet and highlighted and coloured and this, that, and the other. That's not how I
will present
it probably. So
no. Well, it'll be interesting.
Yes, it will.
Okay. Anything nice coming up for the weekend?
No, not really.
Okay.
Which is nice in itself.
No rushing around.
No, I would quite like to go to Ilkley, and I need to collect a bag that I took for repair for Jane. So that will be quite a good thing to do. Got some washing to drop off at the laundry.
So just general maintenance stuff, really.
Yeah, I could do all that.
Keep your life ticking over. And how are you feeling with being away all week and coming home for the weekend? Are you settling into a rhythm, or is it still a bit difficult?
No, I'm settling into a rhythm which is going to work and then not having much time at home and then going to work.
But how does that feel for you? Because
I know that it's not for a long time. It's acceptable. That's what I feel. That's what I have to do.
Okay, so this is a need.
Yes.
So, and you can live with it for 6 months.
Yeah.
But then that would presumably that would colour your decision when it comes to extending this contract.
I won't extend it any more than June.
Good. All right. Even if they offered you 1 day a week or 2 days a week?
hopefully by then we will have a permanent income generation director, which is what they need.
Okay.
So hopefully that will sort itself that way.
And have they clarified their ideas around what's needed for the role so that they can start advertising in January?
No, it was quite interesting actually. On Wednesday we had an exec meeting, and it was one of the actions. It was one of the on the action log, and Tina just closed the whole conversation down. Absolutely, she didn't want to talk about it. So I got a one-to-one with her on Monday, and I will talk to her about it then.
It's an interesting reaction.
Mm.
Do you have any ideas why, or any intuition?
Yeah, because I think that the company is on a retainer.
Mm.
So Tina must be feeling slightly concerned that money is being spent and there's still no director.
Yeah. And
I expect that she feels like it's her responsibility somehow in terms of the job spec. Maybe the job isn't right.
Mm.
I think that she's just hunkering down, and I think she feels responsible to the rest of the exec that there is nobody.
Mm. Well, presumably you would be a good person to speak to since you're
Yes.
covering the roles.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you'd have your perspective of what's needed, particularly as you're writing all of the papers for it. So
yeah. And she's also done things like she's been the only one involved in shortlisting, which, you know, I am so amazed at.
Why?
That I don't know. So I think the fact that she's done these things which are kind of not how you normally behave, and it hasn't worked, she must be feeling, oh crikey, it really has, you know, it's all on my shoulders.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk to her about it because perhaps I can help.
Where is HR in all of this?
Completely uninvolved.
So what does HR do then if it doesn't help with recruitment?
It does help with recruitment.
At director level?
Yeah.
But not this one?
She's just chosen to do this her own way.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Does she have some experience of this role herself? That would explain it.
She doesn't have experience of this role. Before she came to the hospice, if this is what you're asking, she actually was in a regional business development role for, I don't know who it was for. So she knows she knows the type of work that's involved in business development.
That's it. So maybe she thinks that she doesn't need HR because she's been in the sector, sort of thing.
She might, but then the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? We haven't got anybody.
Absolutely.
And it's nearly a year.
Wow. And HR couldn't step in and say, we need to help you.
I don't think there's. They could do, but I think that I need to have a conversation with her first about, you know, what it is that we're looking for, and just bring a different perspective maybe to it, and then she can talk to HR as well.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Oh well, that's an interesting thing that it would be interesting to be part of that and to see how and where it goes, in what direction. If it goes in a healthier one, that would be fantastic for everyone.
Well, I had a conversation with her on Thursday about culture, because I was going to bring something up in the exec meeting, but then it wasn't appropriate to do so. But the hospice goes through a process of business casing everything to help it build its budgets. And the business cases are heard and scored by the group of assistant directors. And the assistant directors are made up of medical, clinical, support service people. And there's one member from fundraising who's my head of fundraising who goes along, but she's not an assistant director she hasn't got that title. No. She goes along to provide a different thought process, I suppose.
Yeah, quite.
I had a confidential email afterwards from somebody who was there, to say how demotivating and dismissive the medical people were about anything to do with income generation. And then I also had my head of fundraising, who was completely demotivated by the experience because she said she was made to feel like shit under somebody's shoe.
Oh, good God.
So I wanted Tina to be aware of this. So I spoke to her on Thursday, and had already spoken to some colleagues who've gone through a culture change program at another hospice, and said to her, you know, would it be useful to actually speak to somebody else about what they have done, because this divide between medical and non-medical, obviously it's prevalent within the whole sector, so maybe there's some learnings we could take from that. But then I also recognise that I need to do something here, not to justify our existence, because I don't see why we should have to do that, but to explain what it is that we do and how we do it.
Yes, definitely. Education.
Yeah. And I said, you know, I've gone from feeling like, why should I have to justify what we do? You couldn't do what you do without us being involved.
No, absolutely not.
So if we actually, this is where I was on sort of Saturday morning, well, actually, what could we do if we only had the CCG funds and no other income from fundraising? Then where would we be? What kind of hospice would we be? What kind of care could we deliver? Not a lot.
It would be unrecognisable.
Yeah. So I went from feeling really angry to thinking more constructively about, well, obviously we need to do some education here.
Good mindset shift. Excellent.
But I also just was surprised and disappointed that somebody who's obviously so intelligent could be so myopic about an area that she obviously doesn't know anything about. It's the usual arrogance, I'm afraid to say, of doctors.
Yes, it's very disappointing, because that's what I was faced with 30 years ago in the Psychiatric Research and Development Unit that was set up by Susie Sainsbury.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that education. So I trained the researchers in how to budget properly. And when I first said, guys, you need some training, they said, but we've been sending budgets out for years. And I said, yes. And you have gone back to the trustees every single year and said, we've undercalculated. We're actually using this much of the secretary. I can show you how to budget where you won't undercalculate, because the trustees are about to pull the plug on you, because they are sick to death of never knowing how much a single research project costs. So give me 6 months. And it worked. So perhaps and I did that at Parkinson's with the branches, because the branches were adamant that London was taking money from them to pay for headquarters staff. So I travelled the country with one of my staff to do, just as you're saying, education. You know, this is what we've given. This is how much to run this project it costs. This is how much we get in. This is how much we're going to give you, and that's going to pay for 2 specialist nurses, which you know, how long would it take you to raise those sort of things?
Yeah.
So it's absolutely indispensable, and it saddens me to hear you saying that it's no better. That's terrible, because I would have thought, perhaps naively, that with all the economic difficulties and obviously affecting the NHS, that they would have seen the importance for themselves, but obviously not.
Well, they say the words, but then when it comes to a long list of business cases, which amounted to £888,000, it was only the ones that were clinical that were deemed to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So the default position, even though you say the words, doesn't mean to say that you actually believe them.
Yeah, quite. Well, you're obviously going to have a bias towards what you know, so that would suggest to me maybe it would be a good idea to sort of broaden the scope of that committee, so that there are carers there, because they come from first-hand experience. And my small experience in Parkinson's was that they tend to listen more.
Well, actually, I think something completely different. I think that they shouldn't have the process of business cases going through a group of people who know nothing about what it is they're judging.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So that it sounds as though that committee definitely needs a refit because it's not fit for purpose.
No. Anyway.
But interesting, fascinating. Oh.
What about you? Are you doing anything good this weekend?
I'm rereading Frederic Laloux.
No.
Because I'm trying to get my head around organizational language.
Right.
And to prepare for January. And I'm having another meeting with Thomas today for my CV.
So what's happening in January?
Well, January is when, hopefully, I will be a member of In Touch Networks, and my profile will be up. So on the portal, so that potential employers can look at me and see if I would be a good fit as a consultant. But they're determined to put me into executive, non-executive director roles, which I'm still not sure of. But they say, you've got the experience, we really need you, you'd be great. So I'm going to see how it plays out. So I've got another curriculum meeting with Thomas. Have you got 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Because I want to read you my profile that I rewrote for my curriculum. So I'll just pull it up. Consultancy CV. Okay. So my profile now reads, it's longer than you said and the woman who I listened to said. But I put the effects of the current global evolution are being intensely reflected in the workplace, where vital change programs are under increasing pressure from outdated working models, strongly held opinions, information overwhelm, and time restraints in all areas of the business. The result, we've never been more in need of leaders and personnel with a healthy relationship with self. Suzanna's work as a mindset mentor, teamwork trainer, and consultant focuses on developing the human potential within an organization. Individuals who value themselves and trust their abilities and decisions are not only more active players in an organization's success, research shows them to be smarter, more collaborative, open, creative, and innovative. In short, more effective leaders and valuable team members who are active participants in the emergence of a new organizational model that better suits our evolving needs. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. My immediate reaction is that it doesn't start off immediately with you and your input. So it's your profile, but you spend 2 sentences or more talking about the external economic environment. And I can understand why you've done that, because it means that there's a need for good leadership, blah, blah, blah. But I just wonder if, how you helped me that time just to reverse the order of things.
Yes. So could I take that out then? Is that what you're saying? Because the second paragraph stands on its own with the research and blah, blah, blah.
How does it read? I don't know.
Okay, all right. So it reads, if I take the first paragraph out, which might be padding because it's not about me, and start with, Suzanna's work as a mindset mentor, teamwork trainer, and consultant focuses on developing the human potential within an organization, because individuals who value themselves and trust their abilities and decisions are not only more active players in the organization's success, research shows them to be smarter, more collaborative, open, creative, and innovative. In short, more effective leaders and valuable team members who are active participants in the emergence of a new organizational model that better suits our evolving needs.
I think that's much better.
Okay, I'll take the top half out. That's fine. Good. It's better to have less than more.
Yeah.
More likely people are to read it. So okay. So then I've got my mentoring, key skills and competencies, and I had to shorten these. So I've got results-driven mentor and champion of other strengths, lifelong learner and applier of the learning acquired, competent in a broad range of psychological disciplines, plus epigenetics and neuroplasticity, passion for excellence, how we sabotage ourselves and how we stop. 3 decades of cross-sector experience has shaped Suzanna's creative problem solving, skilled mentor in leadership and re-energizing and creating cohesive teams based on a healthy relationship with self.
So is that describing
Me.
yeah your core competencies? So
Yeah. What are you thinking?
well, I'm just thinking if that is your if I was looking at your core competencies, would I be looking to see? Sorry, so the core competencies for me are all about the skills that I have and not necessarily what I'm interested in, but what I can do for you. So my competencies are the difference that make for you. But
Yeah, no, I get that. And I'm missing here, aren't I? So what do you see as what I can give an organization? What do you see? I think 3 decades of cross-sector experience makes me a really good problem solver.
That's good.
Results driven and
Yes.
champion of other strengths. I'm very practical because although I'm a lifelong learner, my passion is applying the knowledge.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So finding a use for a passion in lifelong, so it's finding a use and using. And I can put and a passion. Passionate user of the learning acquired. So do I need to qualify that? So for the benefit or facilitate growth or whatever?
So read out what you got.
Lifelong learner and a passionate user of the learning acquired. It's a bit vague. What am I learning? Anything to do with human nature. Where it comes to playing our biggest game.
It's why that competence is useful to other businesses, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's not clear here. Well, if it's playing to your strengths, if I can get in a lifelong learner of people's strengths, of our strengths, then that will be clear of what that would be clearer, wouldn't it?
Isn't your lifelong learning though about the continuous desire to improve, to grow, to learn, and then to apply, share that with other people?
Lifelong learner of personal development, personal and professional development.
Yeah.
Development. And a passionate user of the learning acquired. You need to shorten that, but that's...
Yeah.
Development tools.
I suppose the danger is always that, and I fall into this trap as well, you get into just doing bullet points that you know mean something with words around them because they're in your head.
Absolutely. Okay, competence in a broad range of psychological disciplines. That's the one that really doesn't do anything. So I'm going to take that one out for the moment. Passion for excellence, particularly in how we sabotage ourselves and how we can stop.
Say that again.
Passion for excellence, particularly how we sabotage ourselves and how we can stop.
So,
seeing how self-sabotage becomes organizational sabotage.
I think that's better.
But organizational sabotage seems a bit over the top.
But that the first thing that you read out doesn't I don't think makes sense.
No, it doesn't. So seeing how self-sabotage creates organizational so seeing how self-sabotage leads to organizational and team sabotage. That's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
So seeing how self-sabotage leads to organizational and team sabotage. So then it's 3 decades of cross-sector experience has shaped Suzanna's creative problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
It's not exactly what I wanted to say. I just wanted to say that I've worked in so many sectors that it's made me very flexible.
Why don't you say that then?
3 decades. Oh, for fuck's sake, sorry. Decades in various sectors have developed and made me a very creative problem solver.
Yeah.
Problem solver. Okay, all right. Then that can go. And then skilled mentor in leadership and re-energizing and recreating cohesive teams based on a healthy relationship with self.
Yeah.
So now I've got results-driven mentor and champion of others' strengths, lifelong learner of personal and professional development tools, and a passionate user of the learning acquired.
Yeah.
Seeing how self-sabotage leads to organizational and team sabotage. Can I do something better than seeing? Because it's more than seeing. It is understanding how. And yeah, that's a bit better. It's still not exactly what I want.
Yeah.
More active, rather than I see seeing and understanding as a bit passive.
Yeah.
Solid understanding. I put that.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 decades in various sectors have made Suzanna, I have to put it in the third person apparently, a very creative problem solver, skilled mentor in leadership and re-energizing and creating cohesive teams based on healthy relationship with self. So that's tighter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So then I have to split out my mentoring qualifications from my corporate stuff. So, which is just as well because the mentoring ones are long.
Right.
And the corporate and then the education right at the bottom. So that's it. And no hobbies or interests or anything like that.
Oh.
So that's it. So, okay. So it's a 2.5 page long CV.
Huh?
So that's within their maximum. So that's fine. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you for that.
Pleasure.
So have a good weekend. Are we still on for next Friday?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Okay, all right. If you're not, just send me an email and I can easily change it. All right.
Yeah, I'm just opening my diary whilst you're on the phone.
I think I've got you down for what time?
Oh no, next Friday, the 30th, I'm going to Pontefract now,
Okay.
to that hospice, so
So do you want to change the day?
you couldn't do Saturday, could you?
For you, yes. But can we have it late morning rather than early?
Oh yeah.
Good. So give me a time.
Oh well, for me, it will be great at 11 o'clock UK time. Or
Okay.
later.
All right. No,
Or-
that's fine. 11, that's 12 for me. That's fine. Okay. Good. Done.
Will. Okay.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much, my love. Have a great week.
You too. Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.